Hey everybody, Boris. Welcome to the weekly technicals for Euro dollar, dollar yen, and pound dollar from May 22nd to May 26th of 2017. More dollar selling. It's pretty much, I think, in the cards as far as the trade goes. Certainly the dollar saw a lot of weakness last week as we had anticipated it. And this week looks to be another week of just continuous dollar selling. When you look at the calendar, not much on the data set at all this week. There's just really just a very, very thin smattering of news on the economic front. We do have flash manufacturing data out of the Eurozone, which, given the nice momentum in the euro, if it is positive, could give it a little bit more of a push higher. German IFO as well. All of that coming out on, it's interesting, the manufacturing and the IFO coming out on the same day. That's pretty unusual. UK gets public sector net borrowing. Just housing data out of the US is literally nothing on the US front of any value. We do have preliminary GDP on Friday. That will be probably the most interesting data set for the US. For UK, you also have a second reading of the GDP, and that's it. There's really just not much going on. Housing, GDP at the end of the week, which could be interesting as far as a look. But apart from that, nothing really going on. Maybe a little bit of the PMI data out of the Eurozone that could be supportive. So I don't think it's going to be economic data that kind of drives stuff. Of course, there is, as always, a huge amount of chaos in Washington, D.C., and as always, there's always a lot of potential here for a volatility coming out of the Trump White House. However, he's on effectively a trip this week, so the possibility of new, fresh news breaking remains less likely this week than it was last couple of weeks. So you could see a lot more digestion. But bottom line is, when you're looking at the numbers and you're looking at sort of the momentum flow, it's really very much skewed against the dollar just on a purely momentum flow. I'm going to take a look at the charts and just show you exactly why. Currently, the resistance in the euro is 13. Support now becomes 110. Dollar yen bounced back a little bit, maybe has a chance to recover 112, but support now is at 110. And cable took out the 30 with relatively decent conviction. Still needs to see a little bit stronger move in the 30 for me to get completely excited about the move, but still now it's really sort of a 29, 132 trade in cable as well. Let's take a look at the charts, and I'm going to start actually with the weekly chart just to show you the power move in the euro this week. This is a very significant move. I think we took out, what is that, almost three big figures in the euro. I haven't done that in a long, long time, since effectively last year to the downside. And you can see how when you have a three big figure move in the euro on the weekly, it tends to have continuation. So to me, the fact that we have an unfilled gap, very, very powerful move in the euro, really argues for much stronger euro upside, certainly possibly to the 120, 112.80, which is, or 113, let's just call it the 113, which was the big reversal candle here, where maybe the first point of true resistance here. This 13.14 is the big overhead hang from last September, and then of course the big reversal on the Draghi ECB presser in November. Those things governed euro trade for quite a long time, and now we're seeing the exact contrary forces here as we squeeze back up. And it's really less a function of the market getting enamored with the euro. That certainly helped with the Macron election, but it's much more a function, I think, of the market getting disillusioned with a dollar. So on the weeklies, you have a very, very powerful move here in the euro, and it argues for further upside here. Still, by the way, on the weeklies has not entered the overbought territory. Although on the dailies, and let me just go back to the dailies, I think it probably has. Let me just hit the dailies here, and I'll just tell you. Yeah, on the dailies, we are just sort of tapping the 70 RSI level. So there may be a little bit of a sell-off here, but to me, the argument here is much more to the upside than it is to the downside. I want to be a buyer, not a seller of this trade. If you look at the yen, the trade is exact opposite. Here you had a very, very big 2.5 figure move on what was it, the 5th? What day was this? Let me just make sure I get it for you right. The 17th. We've consolidated. Clearly the 110 was the big support area, and we've held in front of the 110. We actually bounced back above the 111. But this 111, 112, it's sort of a 110, 112 corridor now on the dailies where the yen trades. Let's just take a look. I want to look at the weeklies just to show you that the weekly power move not nearly as impressive as it is in the euro to the downside, but still looks relatively weak. The one thing I think that augurs a little bit better for dollar yen in terms of dollar versus the yen is that we didn't end on the lows. When we end on the lows on the weeklies, that tends to be a relatively powerful signal, with one exception here where you have a complete end of trade or end of trend kind of capitulation low that happened. Even then, the rebound was very, very tiny on the weeklies before we finally rebounded strongly here. So if you look at the weeklies, still a series of failed lower highs, still very much a low trade. Really, to me, dollar yen doesn't become a buy until it can clear the 114s. It's a sell the rally trade all the way to the 114s area here, and probably likely maybe bounce a little bit more, but unlikely it's going to just verticalize through that area before correcting a little bit more. And here's cable. Let me just delete this for you guys so it's clear. So cable looks very positive, but just I would be happier, and this is a weekly chart, I would be really happier if this was a bigger candle. It was a stronger momentum candle. Really, the 30-50 is the area that I would love to see get taken out, and perhaps it will. And most importantly, I'd like to see it taken out and held. Ideally, really even 31 held on a closing basis to give us full confidence that the full bottoming out process in cable has taken shape, and we're looking to trade back up. The data has really improved. Now, not only is the business sector of UK doing quite well, but on Friday or on Thursday, we had really good signal from the consumer sector where the retail sales really bounced back up. Now that suggests that despite all the turmoil and despite the issues of Brexit, the UK economy seems to be more resilient than everybody, including yours truly, thought it would be. And so the power move here in cable is pretty impressive, and you got to like it to the upside here as it tries to challenge this 130 level as we go forward. So that's kind of how the week shapes up. It's still anti-dollar all the way until proven otherwise. It's buy the dips in the cable, buy the dips in the euro, sell the rallies in the yen. That's how we shape up as we go into the week with a relatively light economic calendar.